Hey music lovers and history buffs, before we dive into one of the most chilling and inspiring stories in music history, make sure to smash that like button if you're ready to learn something incredible today. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the lives of legendary artists. Trust me, what you're about to hear about Bob Marley will change how you see courage forever. Now let's get into this incredible true story. The setting: Jamaica's political powder keg, 1976. Picture this: Jamaica, December 1976. The island paradise that tourists know is actually a battleground. Two rival political parties, the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party, are literally at war with each other. The streets of Kingston echo with gunfire every night. Gang violence has turned neighborhoods into war zones, and innocent people are caught in the crossfire daily. In the middle of this chaos stands one man who dares to dream of unity: Robert Nesta Marley, known to the world as Bob Marley. He's not just a musician, he's become a symbol of hope for millions of Jamaicans who are tired of the violence tearing their country apart. His message of one love isn't just a catchy song lyric, it's a revolutionary concept in a nation divided by politics and poverty. The government, led by Michael Manley's People's National Party, is trying to maintain control while facing increasing pressure from opposition forces. Crime rates are skyrocketing, and the economy is crumbling under the weight of political instability. Drug lords and gang leaders have more power than elected officials in many areas of Kingston, and they're not afraid to use violence to maintain their territories. Bob Marley's influence extends far beyond music. When he speaks, people listen. When he calls for peace, thousands gather. This makes him incredibly valuable to politicians who want to use his influence, and incredibly dangerous to those who oppose his message. The Rastafarian community looks to him as a spiritual leader, while young people across Jamaica see him as their voice of rebellion against a system that has failed them. International attention is also focused on Jamaica. The Cold War is in full swing, and the United States is concerned about socialist influences in the Caribbean. Cuba's proximity and the Soviet Union's interest in the region make Jamaica a strategic chess piece in a much larger game. Bob Marley's music and message of liberation are spreading across the world, making him not just a local celebrity, but an international symbol of resistance against oppression. As 1976 draws to a close, tension in Kingston reaches a boiling point. Something has to give. And unfortunately, Bob Marley is about to find himself directly in the line of fire. The Smile Jamaica Concert, a dangerous gamble. Prime Minister Michael Manley approaches Bob Marley with what seems like a simple request: perform at a free concert called Smile Jamaica to help ease tensions and bring people together during the holiday season. The concert is scheduled for December 5th, 1976, just 2 days before crucial elections that will determine Jamaica's future direction. To many, this looks like a peaceful gesture. What could be more innocent than a reggae concert promoting unity? But in the volatile political climate of 1976 Jamaica, nothing is innocent. Opposition leaders immediately view Bob Marley's participation as an endorsement of Manley's socialist government. They see it as Bob using his massive influence to sway voters just before the election. Bob Marley finds himself in an impossible position. He genuinely believes in peace and unity, but he's being pulled into a political game where neutrality might not be possible. His advisors are split. Some urge him to cancel, warning that he's being used as a political pawn. Others believe that his message of one love is exactly what Jamaica needs to hear at this critical moment. The concert venue is set for Heroes Circle in Kingston, a location that can hold thousands of people. Security arrangements are minimal at best. This is supposed to be a celebration, not a military operation. Bob Marley's usual security team consists of a few friends and fellow Rastafarians, hardly equipped to deal with serious threats from professional criminals or political assassins. Behind the scenes, dangerous forces are mobilizing. Gang leaders aligned with different political factions see the concert as either an opportunity or a threat. Some view Bob Marley's growing influence as something that needs to be controlled or eliminated. Drug dealers and gunmen who profit from Jamaica's chaos have no interest in the peace that Bob Marley preaches. International intelligence agencies are also paying attention. The CIA has files on Bob Marley, viewing him as a potential threat to American interests in the region due to his associations with socialist politicians and his influence over young people throughout the Caribbean and beyond. As December 3rd approaches, just 2 days before the concert, the atmosphere in Kingston is electric with tension. Everyone seems to sense that something big is about to happen, but no one knows exactly what. Bob Marley continues rehearsing with the Wailers, determined to deliver a message of peace, even as dark forces conspire around him. December 3rd, 1976. The day death came calling. It's a warm Friday evening at 56 Hope Road, Kingston. Bob Marley's home serves as both residence and rehearsal space, a sprawling property that's become a gathering place for musicians, Rastafarians, and friends. The house buzzes with activity as the Wailers prepare for the Smile Jamaica Concert just 2 days away. Bob is in the kitchen around 8:30 p.m., taking a break from rehearsal. His wife, Rita, is nearby, and the familiar sounds of conversation and laughter fill the air. Outside, the tropical night seems peaceful, palm trees swaying in the breeze, the distant sound of reggae music drifting from other homes in this upscale neighborhood. Suddenly, the tranquility explodes into chaos. Armed men burst through the front gate, their faces covered, automatic weapons in their hands. These aren't random criminals looking for money. They move with military precision, clearly on a specific mission. The attack is swift, calculated, and deadly serious. Gunfire erupts throughout the house. Bullets tear through walls, shatter windows, and send everyone diving for cover. The attackers know the layout of the house, suggesting this isn't a spontaneous assault, but a carefully planned assassination attempt. They're specifically hunting for Bob Marley, and they're prepared to kill anyone who gets in their way. Bob Marley is struck by a bullet that grazes his chest and embeds itself in his arm. Rita Marley is shot in the head, a wound that could have been fatal but miraculously only grazes her scalp. Don Taylor, Bob's manager and close friend, takes the worst of it, hit by 5 bullets as he tries to shield others from the gunfire. The attack lasts only minutes, but it feels like hours to those trapped inside. The sound of automatic weapons fire echoes through the neighborhood, sending residents diving for cover in their own homes. This isn't just an attack on Bob Marley. It's an attack on everything he represents: peace, unity, and hope for a better Jamaica. As quickly as they came, the gunmen disappear into the night, leaving behind a scene of devastation. Blood stains the floors, bullet holes mark the walls, and the air smells of gunpowder and fear. The question on everyone's mind is simple but terrifying. Who wanted Bob Marley dead? And would they try again? The aftermath: blood, fear, and unanswered questions. The immediate aftermath of the shooting is chaos. Sirens wail through the Kingston night as ambulances and police cars converge on 56 Hope Road. Neighbors who heard the gunfire peer out from behind curtains, afraid to venture outside. The news spreads like wildfire through Jamaica and then around the world. Someone had tried to kill Bob Marley. At the hospital, doctors work frantically to save the wounded. Don Taylor, Bob's manager, is in critical condition with 5 bullet wounds. Rita Marley, despite being shot in the head, is conscious and talking, a miracle that many attribute to divine intervention. Bob Marley himself seems almost supernaturally calm, the bullet wound in his arm appearing minor compared to what could have happened. The police investigation begins immediately, but in 1976, Jamaica, solving crimes involving political violence is nearly impossible. Too many people have too much to gain from keeping secrets. Witnesses are afraid to talk, evidence mysteriously disappears, and those who might know something suddenly develop amnesia. The official investigation will drag on for years without producing any arrests. Theories about who ordered the hit spread through Kingston like wildfire. Some blame opposition politicians who feared Bob's influence on the upcoming election. Others point to drug lords who saw his message of peace as bad for their violent business. International conspiracy theorists suggest CIA involvement, given America's Cold War concerns about socialist influences in the Caribbean. Bob Marley's inner circle is devastated and paranoid. Friends who used to move freely through Kingston now look over their shoulders constantly. The carefree atmosphere at Hope Road is replaced by armed guards and security checks. The Rastafarian community, which had always preached love and non-violence, suddenly faces the reality that their spiritual leader could be murdered for his beliefs. Media coverage explodes globally. Major newspapers from London to New York run headlines about the assassination attempt. Bob Marley, already internationally famous, becomes even more of a symbol, not just of reggae music, but of courage in the face of violence. Interview requests pour in from around the world, everyone wanting to know, will he cancel the concert? Will he flee Jamaica? How do you respond when someone tries to kill you for preaching peace? The most haunting question remains unanswered. This was clearly a professional hit, not a random crime. Someone with serious resources and connections wanted Bob Marley dead, and if they failed once, would they try again? The decision that shocked the world. In the hours following the assassination attempt, everyone expects Bob Marley to cancel the Smile Jamaica concert. It would be the logical, safe thing to do. His wife has a bullet wound to her head, his manager is fighting for his life, and he himself narrowly escaped death. Any reasonable person would go into hiding, cancel all public appearances, and wait for the situation to calm down. But Bob Marley isn't any reasonable person. As he sits in the hospital, his arm bandaged, visitors expect to find a man shaken by fear. Instead, they find someone whose resolve has only strengthened. When asked if he'll cancel the concert, his response shocks everyone. The people who are trying to make this world worse aren't taking a day off. How can I? This decision defies all logic and safety concerns. Security experts, friends, and family members plead with him to reconsider. The assassins are still out there, their identity unknown. What's to stop them from trying again, this time at a public concert with thousands of potential witnesses? Bob's response is simple but profound. If I hide now, the music dies. If the music dies, hope dies with it. The decision reveals something fundamental about Bob Marley's character. This isn't just about stubbornness or bravado. It's about a deep spiritual conviction that his music and message are bigger than his own life. He believes that backing down would be a victory for the forces of violence and division that are tearing Jamaica apart. His band members and crew face their own difficult choices. They could quit, and no one would blame them. Performing with Bob Marley now means accepting the risk that they too could become targets. One by one, the Wailers make their choice. They'll stand with Bob, whatever the consequences. The announcement that the concert will go on as planned sends shockwaves through Jamaica and the international music community. Some call it heroic, others call it foolishly reckless. Radio stations across the island broadcast the news, and suddenly the Smile Jamaica concert becomes more than just a musical event. It becomes a test of whether fear or courage will prevail. Ticket sales, which had been strong before the shooting, now take on a different meaning. Buying a ticket becomes an act of defiance against those who would use violence to silence voices of peace. The concert transforms from a simple musical performance into a statement about the power of music to overcome fear. 48 hours of terror and preparation. The 48 hours between the assassination attempt and the Smile Jamaica concert are unlike anything in music history. Bob Marley's decision to perform has turned the event into a global news story, with journalists flying in from around the world to witness what many believe could be his final performance. Security becomes a nightmare. The Jamaican government, embarrassed that an internationally famous musician was nearly killed on their watch, floods the Heroes Circle venue with police and military personnel. Sharpshooters are positioned on rooftops, metal detectors are set up at entrances, and every person entering the venue is thoroughly searched. The scene looks more like a military operation than a peace concert. Behind the scenes, Bob Marley deals with intense pressure from all sides. Government officials want guarantees that he won't make political statements that could inflame tensions before the election. Opposition leaders warn that they can't be responsible for his safety if he proceeds. International media speculate about his mental state, wondering if the shooting has affected his judgment. His family is torn apart by fear and conflicting emotions. Rita Marley, still recovering from her head wound, begs him to reconsider. His children don't understand why their father would risk his life for a concert. Friends in the Rastafarian community are split between admiring his courage and questioning his wisdom. The psychological pressure is immense. Bob Marley has always been a confident performer, but now he faces the real possibility that stepping onto that stage could mean stepping into a kill zone. Every shadow could hide an assassin. Every loud noise could be gunfire. Sleep becomes impossible as his mind races through scenarios and possibilities. Yet something remarkable happens during these 48 hours. Instead of breaking down under pressure, Bob Marley seems to find a deeper sense of purpose. He spends hours in meditation and prayer, drawing strength from his Rastafarian faith. He writes new lyrics that reflect his experience, transforming his near-death experience into artistic expression. The rehearsals during this period are intense and emotional. The Wailers know they're not just preparing for a concert, they're preparing for what could be their final performance together. Every song takes on new meaning. Every lyric about peace and unity carries the weight of recent events. As December 5th approaches, Kingston holds its breath. Will Bob Marley actually show up? Will the assassins try again? Can one man's courage really triumph over the forces of violence and fear that have gripped Jamaica for so long? The performance that defined courage. December 5th, 1976, Heroes Circle, Kingston. As the sun sets over Jamaica, thousands of people gather for what has become the most anticipated and dangerous concert in music history. The atmosphere is electric with tension, part celebration, part vigil, part act of collective defiance against those who would use violence to silence voices of peace. Security is unprecedented. Armed guards are everywhere, their eyes constantly scanning the crowd for potential threats. Military vehicles surround the venue, and government officials watch nervously from secure positions. Everyone knows that Bob Marley's appearance on stage will be a moment of extreme vulnerability, a perfect opportunity for his would-be assassins to finish what they started. At 8 p.m., the moment arrives. Bob Marley walks onto the stage, his left arm in a sling from the bullet wound, but his presence commanding and unafraid. The crowd erupts in a roar that can be heard for miles. Not just applause, but a collective expression of relief, admiration, and defiance. He's alive, he's here, and he's not backing down. His first words to the crowd are simple but powerful. Good evening, everyone. There are some people who think that we're supposed to be afraid tonight, but we're not afraid of nothing. The crowd responds with thunderous approval, understanding that they're witnessing something extraordinary. A man who literally survived assassination and chose courage over fear. The performance itself is electric. Every song carries new meaning in light of recent events. When he sings "No Woman, No Cry," it's not just a song about comfort. It's a message to his wife and all the women in Jamaica who live in fear of violence. When he performs "Get Up, Stand Up," it becomes an anthem of resistance against those who would use bullets to silence dissent. But it's during war, his adaptation of Haile Selassie's speech about the need to fight against injustice, that the true power of the moment becomes clear. Bob Marley's voice, usually smooth and melodic, takes on a prophetic intensity. He's not just performing, he's delivering a sermon, a declaration that violence will not triumph over righteousness. The concert lasts only 90 minutes, but those 90 minutes change everything. Bob Marley proves that one person's courage can inspire thousands. The crowd, initially nervous and watchful, becomes increasingly jubilant as they realize they're safe, they're together, and they're part of something historic. As the final notes fade and Bob Marley leaves the stage, the message is clear. Fear has not won. Music has triumphed over bullets. Love has overcome hate, and courage has defeated cowardice. The Exile, when heroes must flee. Despite the triumph of the Smile Jamaica Concert, Bob Marley's problems are far from over. The assassination attempt has made him a marked man in Jamaica, and intelligence reports suggest that those who wanted him dead haven't given up. Within weeks of the concert, it becomes clear that staying in Jamaica means living with a constant death threat. The decision to leave Jamaica breaks Bob Marley's heart. This is his homeland, the source of his inspiration, the place where his music was born. The idea of fleeing feels like letting the assassins win, giving them exactly what they wanted. his absence from the Jamaican political and cultural scene. But the threats are real and constant. Anonymous phone calls promise death if he doesn't leave the island. Cars follow him through Kingston's streets. Friends report being approached by strangers asking about his whereabouts and habits. The stress affects not just Bob, but his entire family and inner circle. In early 1977, Bob Marley makes the painful decision to go into exile. He chooses London, England, where he can continue making music while staying relatively safe from Jamaican assassins. The move is presented publicly as a temporary relocation for recording purposes, but those close to him know the truth. He's a refugee from violence in his own country. The exile period is incredibly productive musically, but emotionally devastating personally. Cut off from his roots, Bob Marley pours his pain, anger, and longing into his music. The songs he writes during this period, including material for the Exodus album, are some of his most powerful and enduring works. Living in London, Bob Marley experiences a different kind of pressure. He's safe from Jamaican gunmen, but he faces constant questions from international media about the assassination attempt. Everyone wants to know who tried to kill him and why. His standard response becomes, "Ask the people who shot me because I don't know." The exile also allows him to see his situation from a global perspective. He realizes that his experience in Jamaica is part of a larger pattern of violence against those who speak truth to power. From Martin Luther King Jr. to Malcolm X, history is full of leaders who paid the ultimate price for challenging the status quo. During long nights in London, Bob Marley wrestles with fundamental questions. Is it worth risking his life to continue his message of peace and unity? Can music really change the world if those in power are willing to kill to maintain their control? His answer, reflected in the music he creates during exile, is a resounding yes. The Return and Redemption, One Love Peace Concert. After more than a year in exile, Bob Marley receives an invitation that will change everything. The opportunity to return to Jamaica for a peace concert that could finally heal his divided homeland. The One Love Peace Concert, planned for April 22, 1978, represents everything Bob Marley has been working toward. A chance to bring Jamaica's warring political factions together through the power of music. The concert is the brainchild of Claude Massop and Bucky Marshall, two gang leaders from opposing political sides who have grown tired of the violence tearing Jamaica apart. In an unprecedented move, they approach Bob Marley to headline a concert where leaders from both major political parties will appear together on stage. It's an ambitious, almost impossible dream, but exactly the kind of challenge that appeals to Bob Marley's vision of unity. The return to Jamaica is fraught with danger. The people who tried to kill Bob Marley in 1976 are still at large, still unknown. Security arrangements are even more intensive than they were for the Smile Jamaica Concert. This time, however, Bob Marley has international support and protection that makes him harder to target. Rehearsals for the concert are emotional and intense. Being back in Jamaica, surrounded by familiar sounds, smells, and faces, Bob Marley feels like he's come home from a long, painful journey. The Wailers, reunited on Jamaican soil, play with an intensity and passion that reflects their shared experience of exile and return. The build-up to the concert captures the world's attention. International media descend on Kingston, framing the event as a test of whether music can truly overcome political violence. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the concert succeeds, it could mark the beginning of peace in Jamaica. If it fails, or if violence erupts, it could prove that some divisions are too deep for even Bob Marley's music to heal. Behind the scenes, intensive negotiations take place between political leaders. Michael Manley from the People's National Party and Edward Seaga from the Jamaica Labour Party must agree not only to attend the concert, but to appear together on stage, something that seems almost impossible given the hatred between their followers. As April 22nd approaches, Jamaica holds its breath once again. Bob Marley has returned from exile. But can he achieve what seems impossible, bringing peace to a nation torn apart by political violence? The answer will come on a stage in Kingston's National Stadium, where one man's music will be tested against decades of hatred and mistrust. Legacy of a man who faced death and chose love. The One Love Peace concert becomes the defining moment of Bob Marley's career and life. When he brings Michael Manley and Edward Seaga together on stage, joining their hands above his head in a gesture of unity, he accomplishes something that seemed impossible. Two bitter political enemies standing together in the name of peace. But the true legacy of Bob Marley's response to the assassination attempt goes far beyond that single moment. By choosing to perform just 48 hours after being shot, he established a template for how artists and activists should respond to violence and intimidation. His message was clear. Bullets cannot kill ideas, fear cannot silence truth, and violence cannot triumph over love. The impact of his courage rippled around the world. Musicians facing government oppression in Latin America, Africa, and Asia drew inspiration from Bob Marley's example. If he could face down assassins and continue spreading his message of peace, they could find the strength to continue their own struggles against injustice. The assassination attempt also transformed Bob Marley's music from entertainment into prophecy. Songs like Exodus, Survival, and Uprising, all recorded after the shooting, carry a weight and urgency that reflects his brush with death. Having faced mortality directly, his message of unity and resistance became more powerful than ever. Perhaps most importantly, Bob Marley's response to violence established him as more than just a musician. He became a symbol of courage for oppressed people everywhere. From Nelson Mandela's prison cell in South Africa to the slums of São Paulo, people facing their own struggles found strength in the story of a man who was shot for preaching peace and responded by preaching peace even louder. The mystery of who tried to kill Bob Marley was never officially solved, but in many ways it doesn't matter. What matters is how he responded. In choosing love over fear, courage over safety, and unity over division, Bob Marley proved that the power of one person's conviction can be stronger than bullets. Today, more than 4 decades later, Bob Marley's music continues to inspire people facing violence and oppression around the world. His response to the assassination attempt has become a legend that grows more powerful with each generation. He showed us that when faced with the choice between fear and courage, between hiding and standing up, between silence and speaking truth, the right choice is always to choose love. The gunmen who tried to kill Bob Marley succeeded only in making him immortal. They wanted to silence his message, but instead, they ensured that his voice would echo through eternity. That's the real power of choosing courage over fear. It transforms mortal men into eternal symbols of hope. If this incredible story of courage and resilience moved you, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear Bob Marley's message of hope today. Subscribe to our channel for more untold stories of legendary artists who changed the world through their music and their courage. And remember, in a world full of violence and division, we all have the power to choose love over fear, just like Bob Marley did on that unforgettable night in 1976. One love, everyone. One love.